everyone, this is Faye here from Twilight Crafts, and I thought I would do just a really short walkthrough on different ways to use Jennywren Cutfiles. So I've got a few layouts here just to start with, just to talk through how I've used some of the Cutfiles on scrapbook layouts, and hopefully it will give you some ideas of how to use them. So first of all, this is an exclusive Paige Evans cut file. We do have as a free download, thanks to Paige, who has supported Twilight Crafts. And so on this layout, I just backed the cut file in the generic way, in the probably the way most people prefer to use cut files, but I also then used one of the shapes to add a photograph, and so that's quite a straightforward way to back a cut file, a great way to use up scraps, lots of little pieces all placed underneath, and I'll show you in a minute how I like to do that in the basic backing method. So that one is on the Twilight Crafts website under Jennywren Digital Cut Files free downloads, if anybody would like to grab that download. The next way I like to use cut files is to add glitter. So I love stickles, and so on this cut file I just added stickles to the title, and then just a little bit of mirror card in one whole piece to back this cut file. So you don't have to do lots of fussy cutting on some of our Jennywren cut files. You can just use a whole sheet in this case to back the cut file. So that's stickles and mirror card. I then like to add a bit of dimension. So this cut file, the rainbow butterfly cut file, when it cuts, has the centerpiece of each butterfly still within the whole sheet of card. So for this technique, I just got a little piece of scrap. So get a piece of scrap paper, pop it under the wing of the butterfly, and then ink the edges. And I used worn lipstick distress oxide here with a little distress tool to ink the edges of the butterflies. And then using a butterfly punch that I had, I cut little butterflies from scraps. So that is one of our cut files there, just all inked. And as you can see, I backed it in a piece of pattern paper, so when you lift the wings you can see the butterflies underneath. And another way you can use cut files is to make little shaker pockets. So in this egg hunt cut file, I used little tiny foam pads. I'm going to turn it this way so that you can see little foam pads. So you back the cut file in a piece of acetate. You then put a run of foam pads around the outside. You cut a piece of coloured card just to fit in there, and you put lots of little sequins behind before you stick it down. So you can use any type of sequins to make your own shaker pocket. And here I use the inner pieces of the letters, and I inked those in distress oxide, so you can actually see that title is underneath there. This is another cut file which I actually cut from pieces of mixed media paper that I made. So you can put your mixed media paper straight onto your cutting mat and then use the digital cut file to cut out, and then that's raised on foam pads. So this cut file, these boots were made for walking, uses a combination of different techniques. So you've got the first technique is just the basic cut file backing, using one piece of pattern paper there, and then keeping the inner pieces of these parts of the cut file. I then use distress inks in this case to ink in some green and brown, and then the orange with that brown fade, and those are mounted on foam pads. What I also like to do to make the cut file pop is to create an offset background. So you can either create the offset background in the Scan and Cut or piece of software that you use, be that the Silhouette software, the Cricut software, or in my case, the Canvas Brother Scan and Cut software. And you take the digital cut file and then you use the offset button. Or in this case, because I was being quite lazy, I just stuck the cut file onto a piece of green card and I actually hand cut this. So if you're not confident with your cutting machine, you can just hand cut that. Okay, so then another way of using cut files is to kind of tuck them behind things and to use them as a background. So this heart cut file was backed in the traditional way, using bits of scrap paper, and then this is the beautiful 49 and Market Art Avesta papers to create that wreath. And then the cut file is really just hidden as part of the background, again to create a bit of dimension on the layout. And then this one, more traditional kind of backing of a cut file using scraps, is a brilliant way to use up paper scraps. Even with the little dog here, tiny little bits of brown, a little bit of blue for the collar, and then I even fussy cut some little spots to add some detail to the dog. And it's also quite nice if you've got embellishment stickers to layer up your cut file and other stickers and embellishments that you've got. And this was just a mixed media background that I created. Love Nuvo dots, like adding another little bit of dimension and some extras with some stamping, and that's using Distress Oxides on that one. And then another way to use the cut file is to layer up. So this is our Shine Bright Like a Diamond cut file. First of all, cut in black, then cut in white, and then the diamond cut also in the non-shed glitter paper. So it's 3 layers of cut file here, but also then adding some stickles to the edge, and then these are black Nuvo dots all around, the black and the white just glued down, and then the diamond piece added on foam dots. So you can see there are lots of different ways to use a cut file. The other thing I also like to do is to add ink directly to the cut file. So some lovely effects that you can get with some Distress Oxides and Distress inks. So I think this was a bit of worn lipstick and a bit of Mermaid Lagoon on our umbrella cut file. And then using a bleaching technique, splashing water onto the Distress Oxides, and then just a paper towel to lift off, giving a really nice effect. Some of our design team members have done amazing things with inking cut files, from a white sheet of paper, turning it into a black silhouette using black ink. So lots of possibilities there. This is another one that Debbie specially made for me, clock yellow. So my little boy has a grow clock, and we have to encourage him to stay in bed until the clock's yellow. So he runs in and says, "Mummy, clock yellow." So this is again just inked, this time with Distress inks, and it gives quite a subtle colour with this one was the oranges and the yellows in the Distress ink. So lots and lots of possibilities. And then when it comes to actually using a cut file and cutting it out, we often get asked what's the best way to do it. So you can use coordinating papers. I also quite like to use scraps, particularly if they are kind of plain coloured scraps. Let me find the title that I've got hiding here that I was working on. And then you've got the option to draw on the inside or on the outside of the cut file. When I can find it, it's definitely here. So I have a very messy craft desk. I don't know if anybody else suffers with that when you are crafting. There is stuff everywhere. So let's just show you here with, let's have a go with this clock yellow title and show you how I like to do it. Because I know what will happen, that title will turn up as soon as I stop looking. So to back the cut file, so let's use some of my orange and yellow scraps. So if I'm just doing the basic cut file backing technique, some people prefer to draw on the outside, some people prefer to draw around on the inside. Now the most important thing is you don't want to leave any pencil marks. It makes rubbing out very fiddly. If the cut file's delicate, you could tear the cut file. So if you do prefer to do the inside, it's actually best to make sure you flip the cut file over and do it in reverse, and in which case you'd be drawing around the inside of the cut file and then you'd be cutting on the outside edge. So you need to cut on the outside edge and leaving a very small gap. And you can go and just tidy and trim afterwards. You always just sort of check it fits. But you need to leave enough of an edge to be able to stick. Now, the thing I love about Jennywren cut files is the lines of the cut file are made thick enough so that it's not really fiddly. Now, I'm not a fan of fussy cutting, and I like to get projects done fairly quickly. So the fact that these cut files have the thicker edge is actually really helpful. So that's where I have drawn around the opposite edge. So you can see there that fits nicely into the cut file, and I've still got enough space to glue. So I've kind of got a stripe. It's almost like tiger stripes. So that there. Now, my preferred glue, there's lots of different glues out there, but I absolutely love Nuvo. I've got 3 of these on the go. The nozzle never blocks. It's fabulous, unless you leave the lid off, and then it can get a bit dry. So you need to make sure you put the lid back on. It's got a special lid that means it's a really fine line. It's not very messy, and you can get the glue just where you want it. So you can position that in place, dab off any excess, and that's one way. So you can draw around the opposite image in the inside. The most common way that I often choose to do is actually to draw around the outside. So if you're drawing around the outside, you're going to then cut on the inside line. So it's just about working out whether you're cutting on the inside or the outside. Here, and so I can see my rough marks, and I'm cutting on the inside this time because I know I've drawn around the outside, cut on the inside, and that just makes it really easy. So flip it over, and then you've got the area here. Now what I often find is I kind of overcut a bit, and I think, oh gosh, I've not quite got it right. I've cut on the inside, but I've not allowed enough of a margin. So then you can just hand sketch the little bits you want to cut off, and then you rematch and you say, yes, that's what I was looking for, and then it's ready to glue. And then the other technique, if you're mounting your little pieces on the back, if you're planning to use one large sheet, so for example, I might decide I want this one, and this one, you could decide to do the outside edge of the whole of this piece of title all the way round. You see, and then you could cut here, because you know that that whole piece would fit, and I could then do it in one big piece just like this and do it in one. Now that's if you want obviously the pattern paper all the same. If you're using up scraps, then actually you'll probably want to cut them in little sections so that you can use lots of bits of paper. Great way to use up little pieces. And the fine tuning comes when you lay it back on, so you get the rough outline first, and then you're going to just go back in. So that's kind of cut out, but what I want to do is just check the accuracy of that. Lay that over like this, and then I tend to just do my little bit of sketching around to say, oh, I need a little bit off there, need a little bit off there because it's a little bit wide. The legs of my K are too long, and that should about do it. So I can retrim these little pieces that have got some excess on them, because that was a little bit too wide, and a little bit there. So then, messy craft desk with all my bits of paper, I can just run a little bit of the Nuvo glue around the edge. Now, even when that is glued down, if you think you turn it around and you even see that it's not quite aligned, you can, while the glue is still wet, and that's the beauty of these lovely cutter bee scissors because they are so precise, you can just go back in and trim any excess, because the key is if it's really neatly backed, it gives a much better finish. So just going back in and tidying up tiny little edges just means that you get a really good finish, and it's good to do that while that glue is still slightly wet, because you don't want to damage the cut file. So there is the first piece of the cut file backed. So that's the basic technique. Obviously the most fun is done through inking, through keeping the inner pieces, and that's why I would really encourage people to have a digital cutting machine. We do the pre-cut cut files that can be posted to you in that high quality white cardstock, but having your own cutting machine means that you can keep the inner pieces. You can then use some foam pads to layer up, to add inks, to add glitter embellishments. It just gives you more options. So I hope that's been useful in showing you some ideas and ways that you can use Jennywren cut files. If you haven't already, we'd love you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can join our Facebook group, Twilight Crop and Craft. Thanks for joining me, everyone.